This weekend on the original Rochester Press Box.
I'm Josh Whetzel from the Rochester Red Wings, and I'll tell you why we need to enjoy Vince Scully while we still can.
I'm Dan Moriarty, and golf has never needed Tiger Woods more than it does now, even the Masters.
And I'm Mike Catalana. I'll tell you about the one word to describe the best coach in college basketball.
I'm Bill Pucko. Who is Brandon Bridge and why should we care? Join us on the original Rochester Press Box. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us at the original Rochester Press Box. I'm Bill Pucko, joined by Dan Moriarty as John DiTullio at Fox 1280 Sports.
Yet again.
Yet again. You know, he brags about this Brett Favre thing. It's becoming more Sam Bradford than Brett Favre.
I'm pretty sure it's, 3 straight weeks now?
Well, we wish him the best.
Yes.
And we miss him. Mike Catalana is back from Aruba. Welcome back, man.
I didn't. While I enjoy being here, I did not want to come back. I'm thinking about doing a little sports there, but the only thing they do is like fish and windsurf. Neither are my A game, so yeah, but it was great down there.
A game. And Josh Whetzel joins us. Rochester Red Wings opening up the season this week. He, of course, the voice behind the team. Josh, talk about it. It's as we record, we open the season on the road Thursday. Home opener is Saturday. What have we got to look forward to this season?
Well, so many guys are back. First of all, right now there are 28 guys on the roster. They need to DL 3 guys to get it to 25. But of the 28 players on the roster, 24 have played in Rochester before, which I don't think has ever happened. And the last 2 seasons, the team has made the playoffs in 2013. They came very close last year. A lot of the same key guys are back, so hopefully it bodes well, especially a lot of the pitchers are back. And the pitching staff last year was, without question, the strength of the team. They almost led the league in ERA, set a team record for strikeouts. A lot of those same guys are back.
Organizationally, is that a good thing? I mean, do the Twins want 24 guys returning to their AAA team?
I think it's a double-edged sword, kind of. I think in this case, many of the guys were free agents that were willing to come back. They've enjoyed their time in Rochester. They've had fun here being teammates and on the same team in the same clubhouse. So they were willing to come back. And I think a lot of the, what you might call upper echelon prospects for the Twins are still another level below at AA. So they haven't quite gotten here yet. The good news is now when some of these guys that are here at the moment get promoted or somebody gets hurt, there are going to be guys waiting in the wings that are very talented that can step in.
What do you guys think about the baseball scene here in town?
Well, first of all, I like the part about the guys coming back. I understand you're thinking of progression and guys going to the majors. We just haven't had enough of that here, just the way it normally works out. So if you're a fan who's been to the ballpark, you know Ferris, you know Bernier, you know these guys. At least you've seen them. They're not just one and dones, I guess is the way we would put it. I think that part is great, and it is nice that you can actually look forward to, at least hopefully again, a good competitive winning team. We've talked about which franchises live and die more off the wins and the losses and which ones it bothers more maybe in that way. It's nice to see the Wings as a team now where I think you go to the ballpark, you expect a good team and you expect a winning team, and I think there's a good chance that's going to happen.
And you go to the game, and whether it's a great game or not, the thing I love about Frontier Field and Dan Mason and those guys, they put on a great show. I mean, you don't have to be a baseball fan to go to Frontier Field and enjoy it. The food is great, we all know that. I mean, that's my main reason for going. I love baseball, but I love the food. And even between innings, they've always got fun stuff going on. So I bring my little cousins to games. I bring people that don't necessarily love baseball to games, and you can go and enjoy a nice day at the ballpark.
Our biggest concerns, I think, are Buxton and Sano. These are 2 guys, the 2 top prospects in the Twins that everybody wants to see play here. And as often as not, it seems like Rochester gets bypassed. You got a feeling about whether these guys will show up?
I think the Twins' hope is that they'll be here. Now, the problem is both of those guys basically missed all of last season with injuries. Sano missed the whole season. And so the timing got kind of messed up because if they both would have been healthy last year, I'm real confident they would have appeared in a Red Wing uniform in 2014. Now they have to double back to AA because they missed all of last year, and it just kind of thrown the timing off a little bit. I think what Wings fans need to hope for, and fans in Rochester, are that the Twins do pretty well, and Trevor Plouffe holds down the fort at third base well in Minnesota, and also the center fielder in Minnesota, whoever it's going to wind up being, plays pretty well because that will enhance the chances of those 2 guys making a stop at Frontier Field.
You got a gut feeling as to whether they're here?
I think they'll play here, yeah, especially Sano. I think if Buxton goes nuts and center field is kind of a sticking point for the Twins. Maybe Buxton could skip here, but I think Sano will be here. And the other one's Jose Barrios, who's a really good pitching prospect. I think by May he's going to be here. That could change, but we'll see what happens.
Nice, some things to look forward to.
Yeah.
We'll check in one last time with the NCAA basketball tournament when the original Rochester Press Box continues. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box. NCAA basketball tournament just completed about a week ago. Finished up, Danny, on a pretty high note on what was otherwise kind of an iffy basketball season.
Yeah, I think we got the perfect storm. We had, if you remember the first day of the tournament, we had a couple of upsets in those first few games, but none of the big dog teams got knocked out. So the Kentuckys of the world, the Dukes of the world were still there at the end to give us quite a show in the Final Four. And, of course, Arizona, Wisconsin was a fantastic game. I think that was basically a Final Four type game in a regional final. Wisconsin got themselves playing some of their best basketball at the end of the season. And, of course, Michigan State, it seems to be a story every year. Tom Izzo, it doesn't matter what kind of team he's got. When it gets to the NCAA tournament, they find a way to the Final Four. So it had the upsets, but none of the big teams got knocked off, which left for a good Elite Eight and a very good Final Four.
You know, it was all about Kentucky for a long time, Josh, and you called the UB games, and you saw Kentucky firsthand early in the season. How'd that go?
Kentucky and Wisconsin. The Bulls also played Wisconsin right after Christmas and led both Kentucky and Wisconsin at halftime. So, it was really a great season for UB in that regard, not only getting to the NCAA tournament, but then playing two of the three best teams in the country. And, that's the thing. This year in college basketball, it wasn't a great year for college basketball necessarily, but I think the three top teams, Kentucky, Duke, Wisconsin, those three were really good. And it wouldn't have mattered what season it was. Those three teams were really top of the line.
Yeah, I've been critical a lot. We've talked a lot about the quality of play and the way guys go. I loved the final game. I thought it was great. I thought it was entertaining. It's back and forth. You saw big plays, and you saw freshmen make plays and play more and come off the bench and contribute, which is something that has been a difficult thing for local fans here when you're watching Syracuse, whether it's trust in those guys, whether they're talented enough or not. It was interesting to watch those guys develop. Duke especially. Again, that's what I'm talking about as opposed to Wisconsin. And to see them play that way, and they're going to lose a bunch of those guys too. I'm assuming most, if not all of them, are going. But they did not play like freshmen. And then for Krzyzewski to have faith in them and them to match up the way they did and to really come back in that final game, I thought the tournament got better as it went along. I thought it was great at the end.
We kept thinking the college basketball has got problems this year and that the game was slow and it was not interesting. Again, you saw more of this firsthand than any of us. What would you do? One thing to do differently?
I'd like them to drop the shot clock to 30, and I'd like to see them widen the lane. I think those two things are probably the first two things I would do. I think 24 seconds maybe is a little bit too low for these guys, but 30 seconds I think is a no-brainer for the shot clock.
What would widening the lane do?
Just free up the lane a little bit, open things up in the middle of the lane a little bit. I think widening the semicircle also another foot or so like they have in the NBA would be another step.
If you've seen more basketball, than any of us, I think you're probably the biggest basketball fan here. Would you concur?
Yeah. Well, the shot clock is an absolute no-brainer. The fact that it's still at 35 is one of the dumbest rules,
and that the women
I think,
have
on all sports. Yeah. And international basketball is 24. The NBA is 24. Women's college basketball is 30. Yet college basketball for the men is 35. Makes no sense.
Yeah, you could also modify some of the zone rules, too, a little bit more like the NBA does with some of the help defense. Everybody likes to see, help defense, and they talk about it, but it does clog up the lane a lot. things you're not allowed to do as much in the NBA. So guys drive in the middle, and there's not as much freedom of movement for the players as there is in the NBA. Just like you said with the shot clock, I think there's a balance there they could have.
Cool. Like it or not, when we return. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box. Like it or not, Michael, replay, especially as we saw it used in the NCAA basketball tournament.
I guess I don't like the way it always seems to work itself out. And if I read it correctly, and I think I did the referees say they didn't see the same replay we were seeing on television?
The decisive one in the
right,
last
like,
game.
So if you're going to have it, make sure you're getting everything. And that's the worst case scenario, because all of us are sitting at home seeing one thing, and if those guys aren't seeing that, I think it's a problem. I do think it's entered into referees' minds. And you know when I think of it, too? You know, we've all seen that play where the ball's going out of bounds, and you know there's contact. And if you're the ref, you might let the contact go, the ball's out of bounds, you give it to the team that would have gotten a foul. You're moving the game along. No foul, let it go. They can't do that now in circumstances, because you're going to go to replay, and if it's challenged, they're going to say, well, it hit off the guy's hand, and they're going to take that play away. I think the referees have a little bit of that monitor on their shoulder a little bit. I think it's impacted the way guys call the game late in the game because they know it's there. It's not going away, but I think it needs to be tweaked.
Hockey has so few great ideas, I think, but they seem to have gotten it right as you take it out of the rink. You have your replay, and it's done by people who are sitting in a confined atmosphere to make these calls, right?
Well, not looking at a screen this big when we're all looking at home on 40, 50, sometimes bigger inch TVs. I mean, that makes no sense to me. And like you said, to not have the same angles that we're getting on TV, so the refs look bad because we get the angles and they don't, that's not their fault. That's whoever's feeding them the angles' fault. And then for John Adams to come out and say, the head of officiating, oh, we got the angle right after they left the monitor. I didn't know whether to say anything or not. He didn't know whether to say anything. Why do you have replay then? Yeah. You have replay to get it right. He should have said something. It's not like you're stopping play. They hadn't restarted yet. And instead of doing anything, he sat on his hands and did nothing. And the referees that he is the head of look bad because
What's the justification for leaving it in the hands of the guys on the court and on the football field?
I'm not sure about that. To me, the most important thing is just get the call right. That's what it's all about. And so I'm like you. It's got to be tweaked in some way because it does take a little bit too long in some instances. The most important thing is just get it right, bottom line.
Well, look at the NFL. I mean, you know, they say it's in the hands of the ref, and the ref goes over and looks at it, but yet the touchdowns are confirmed upstairs sometimes before they even look at it. I mean, they know that works. College football does a better job than the NFL. It's quicker, it's done that way, and you mentioned if hockey's got it right, you know you have a problem compared to your sport. It needs to change, needs to be tweaked, but no excuse for the way it went in the finals.
Danny, like it or not, the Red Sox-Yankees rivalry these days.
It's just not the same. I mean, you're a Red Sox fan. I'm a Yankee fan, so maybe you see it differently. I mean,
as they win.
I watch the games. There's still games I got to watch, but I don't hate the Red Sox like I used to. Pedro Martinez made it great for me because I love watching the guy play, but I hated him because he was throwing at guys' heads and throwing Don Zimmer to the ground and doing all this sort of stuff. He made it so that you hated not only him but the Red Sox. Whereas now I like Pedroia. I like David Ortiz. I mean, he's an interesting character. I kind of like the Red Sox fans as well, the way they treated Mariano Rivera and Derek Jeter on their way out. They were classier than I expected them to be, and I don't know. I don't hate the Red Sox like I used to.
Where is the rivalry these days? Because I don't think the Boston-New York one now is the hottest, but I can't identify that either.
I'm wicked confused by him saying he liked Red Sox fans. I think that would be the thing. If I'm a Yankees fan, I would still hate Red Sox fans. I think that would be the thing that would fire me up. But I still think at the baseball level, Yankees-Red Sox has got to be the best.
Still.
It's got to be.
So I was thinking the Mets and the Phillies for a while were close. The Dodgers-Giants is always there. The Cubs-Cardinals.
See, I thought the games were more fun. Red Sox-Rays, when they were going at it for division titles and even in the postseason a few years back, that to me was even more exciting than the Yankee-Red Sox games.
Playing, 19 times during the year? And I think the other thing is that every game seems to be a national game. They always put it on Fox. And I guess maybe it's because we're here. No, I think it's lost a lot. I think it's lost a lot of what it was. I think just seems like they've played so many times. And The only way it's going to get better is if both teams are good, and that's not the case this year.
They play each other 18 times, I guess, during the regular.
18,
Does that hurt it or help it?
Hurts it. Right now it hurts it because I don't find the games all that compelling. I mean, I really don't. I mean, it's not the same thing in football, but Bills-Dolphins used to be the game. Why? Kelly, Marino, two great teams, always battling at the end. If both teams were good, I think it would be different. And if they were the two teams. But the Orioles are good, Blue Jays, wherever they're going to be. So it's not those two teams anymore.
Well, they seem to load up the beginning of the schedule and the end of the schedule with those games, too. That's when I'm most interested in baseball. The middle of the season, when you kind of lose me, that's when I'd rather see those games and bring me to the TV. I'm going to be watching baseball now anyway because it just started.
We got to find the Nationals a rival. Unfinished business when we return. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box Unfinished Business. Danny.
Well, it is Masters Week, and I don't know if people are as excited as I am. Probably not, because nobody likes golf anymore, but I'm a golf geek, and it's probably a little bit unhealthy how excited I am for the Masters. Now, the Masters itself, is as much as it's a big golf tournament, has never needed Tiger Woods more than it needs it now, and so does golf. Golf in general needs Tiger Woods. Not necessarily to win, because I don't know that he's ever going to win big again, just to play. Just to stay healthy, just to make it to the weekend. Golf has tons of young stars. In some ways, it reminds me of the TV show Freaks and Geeks, a show that was a loaded cast that nobody saw on TV. And now it's kind of got reruns on Netflix. People realize how good it is, but golf doesn't really have that luxury. People have to see how much talent there is now. The way that they see that is by Tiger Woods playing. He has to transition golf into the next era because, let's be honest, Tiger Woods isn't Tiger Woods anymore, but he still brings eyeballs to the TV. Loaded with young talent. Jordan Spieth, obviously, with a first and 2 second place finishes in his last three tournaments. You got Rory McIlroy, Dustin Johnson. The game itself, in terms of talent, has never been healthier than it is right now. But who cares if nobody watches? Nobody knows that talent exists. The way that they can find out is if Tiger plays and gets to weekends of events. Even if he doesn't win, people will watch if he's there and maybe find out that golf is really, really talented.
Why can't we find out more about a guy like Jordan Spieth and get behind his effort, you know?
Because nobody watches. Nobody's been watching any of the events this year. I've watched a lot of them, tons of playoffs. Now, it's a bunch of no-name guys in those playoffs, but the golf itself this year has been great. But nobody would know that because literally nobody watches. People will be watching this week.
Josh.
Well, it's not often that we get to enjoy somebody who's the best at their job while they're doing it. But we still have a chance with Vin Scully, who's a broadcaster for the Dodgers. He's 87 years old. This is his 66th season broadcasting Dodgers baseball. He's still the best. He started broadcasting Dodgers games in 1950 in Brooklyn. Bill Pucko hadn't even started high school yet in 1950, believe it or not, going back that far. Now, he maybe has lost his fastball a little bit, but Vin Scully just calling a routine fly ball to left field is still better than just about anybody else calling a walk-off home run in Game 7 of the World Series. You can still catch him late at night on the West Coast. He doesn't travel that much anymore. So after you tune in a Red Wings game on the radio, maybe flip it over to the MLB network and you can catch Vin Scully doing the Dodgers. As he would say, you can pull up a chair and enjoy him because he's not going to be doing it much longer.
66 years, I mean, you don't have quite that, but you're now the longest running Red Wings play-by-play guy, aren't you?
I think Joe Cullinane still has me by a year.
So how many is it going to be this year?
This will be 13.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we think you're the best, honest God, you're the best I've heard at it.
Well,
in
thanks, Bill.
The time dating all the way back to the Brooklyn Dodgers that I've been around.
Thank you, Bill.
Mike.
We talked about the NCAA Finals, and I did enjoy watching it. And you have to respect Mike Krzyzewski as a coach. And the one word I think I would use to describe him is evolved. I think he seems to have evolved as as a person, and most importantly, as a coach. And I heard an interview with him talking about how he needed to evolve. He needed to change a little bit, and how he has adapted to the current player. He's adapted to the one and done players. He's adapted to the changes in the game better than anybody. Not just the fact that he may put a little touch in his hair to keep it dark. I don't know, not a single bit of gray in that hair, how he does it. But he also coaches still like a guy who's connected and understands certainly the game now and the game going forward. I love watching what he's done. I think he's still the best at what he does. And what would it be a show without me taking a shot at Jim Boeheim in this sense? But that's the one thing I think Coach Boeheim, as great as he's been, has not done as well. Embrace the changes in the game. Tough week for him at Syracuse. Losing McCullough to the NBA, he's a guy who certainly could have helped. Not getting Thomas Bryant right out of his own backyard, a Rochester kid. You got to evolve. You have to change. You have to adapt. Nobody does it better than Coach K.
We villainize so many of our best people, I think, sometimes. I think Coach K falls into that. I don't think we fully appreciate him because we try so hard not to like him.
He's not perfect. A year ago, they lost in the first round. I mean, that does happen, but God, you watch the guy coach, you see the way his players love him, and he did it with a lot of freshmen. I thought it was amazing.
BuffaloBills.com is running the series. They've got Draft Watch, where they're profiling players that might be able to help the Buffalo Bills in the upcoming draft. So I'm looking at it today, and I find this guy, Brandon Bridge, is interesting. He's a quarterback. We're always looking at quarterbacks. Brandon Bridge was recruited by University of Buffalo. When Turner Gill left for Kansas, he decided he'd go to Alcorn State instead. Spent 2 years there. The coaching staff left. He spent a year off, transferred to South Alabama, where in his senior year he compiled a completion percentage of 51%. Mike Mayotte said, I don't really think he knows what he's doing. And this is a guy we're profiling as a potential Buffalo Bill. It goes back to the premise that the NFL's biggest plus is its biggest minus. Its biggest plus are these great quarterbacks that attract all this attention. The biggest minus is that there aren't enough of them. And the Buffalo Bills, God bless them, they've done everything they possibly could in this offseason. Until they solve that problem, their ceiling remains probably right here. 10-6, playoffs maybe, first-round exit.
It's going to be tough. They need that guy.
That is our program. Thank you very much for joining us. Danny, good job as John DiTullio.
Thank you.
Mike, welcome back.
Thank you.
Josh, thanks very much. Have a great season out there with the Red Wings.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week on the original Rochester Press Box.